All right, thanks for joining us over lunch, everybody. We're really excited. We're kicking off our new series of live streamed content on Twitch TV, our new Twitch TV channel. And we're really excited today. My name's Aaron Wasserman. I'm the head of community at NGP Van and Every Action. And we're really excited today to be bringing you two of our two top digital gurus talking about some of the things that we were able to accomplish by making some even minor tweaks to our forms that really improved optimization. And they're just good lessons about how to get your forms to convert really highly. So without further ado, I want to welcome Mike Liddell, who's our GM for digital products, and Rob Winikates, who's our digital product director. And I'm going to let them tell you some tales of an optimization addict.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron. So as Aaron said, I'm Mike. You guys are going to meet Rob in a second. I'm the general manager of digital, and we're going to talk about some forms. So our forms, or as we call them in our tools, online actions, are really important to our digital product line, and we've made a few new updates to them. We just wanted to share with everybody and talk about kind of our process of how we went through creating those changes. So why, out of all of our different digital tools, did we choose forms and working on those forms? Well, first of all, forms are one of the primary ways that our client supporters interact with those clients. And forms really represent the moment when a supporter, someone who's interested in an organization, someone who wants to help out a campaign, comes to a website, and the form is really the moment when they actually become a supporter, when they convert that interest into an action that they can take on behalf of that organization that has a real world impact after they do that. So what are some of the different things you can do with our forms? You can ask your supporters to make a donation. You can use our forms to build your email list. You can use our forms to sign up volunteers, to get people to come to an event. You can ask your supporters to raise money on your behalf. All of that is possible through our forms, and that's one of the reasons why we really wanted to focus on improving all of them and updating all of them so that they could have impacts across our entire suite of products. We're a little obsessed with making them great. It's not just making them better, but making them the best possible forms that you could have. We also know from our past experience and in working on our forms, improving them, is that little changes can actually have a really big impact for our clients. So, one quick example of that is in 2014, we actually introduced a new form layout. It was called multi-step forms, and it was inspired by what the Obama for President campaign had introduced during their campaign. And so we introduced the form, and essentially multi-step forms take what was once a really long form, a single page form that had all the fields and information on that form, and it breaks it up into a few little steps that someone can go through, and it just kind of makes it a little easier to fill out a form. It breaks up that long process into a few digestible chunks. So after we basically started testing these new multi-step forms, we realized we had a couple of beta clients that we were testing the forms with, and we saw that our clients had a 20% increase in conversion rates, which is really a big increase. It was unexpected for us that it would be that much of an impact. So right away, we immediately decided that we were going to roll those out to the rest of our clients and make it the default form type for everyone. And as you can see, like a 20% increase means that you're raising 20% more money off of that form. So it's a big deal for our clients. It means that they're raising more money, and those supporters are having a much bigger impact because they're able to complete the forms faster. So as I said, we rolled those forms out to the rest of our clients. We made it the default form type for all of our forms so that immediately clients who didn't even have the opportunity to do testing could still take advantage of those multi-step pages, although they can still use a single step page if they would prefer that as well. So why does all of this matter? What is it, these changes, how does it really impact our clients, and why does it matter to us as a company? In the 2014 cycle, we actually raised over $200 million online. Our clients raised that money through our tools. So, because of that, if we can increase conversion rates on our forms by even 1%, that's a huge lift for all of our clients. That's an extra $2 million that's going to go into our clients' pockets just because of that small change. But of course, we don't want to stop at 1%. We want our forms to be as great as they possibly can. So, if we convert 5% better, that's an extra $10 million. 10% better, that's an extra $20 million. That's the level of impact that we can really have on our clients and their organizations just by doing, these changes to our forms. And as our vice president would say, to us, that's a BFD. That's a really big deal. That's a way that, we can have a big impact on our clients' lives. So I'm going to turn it over to Rob, who's going to talk a little bit more about some of the details that went into the process.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. So I'm a really big fan of history. Without knowing we as a company and as a movement have been, there's really no knowing where we could possibly go. So I want to take you all on a quick trip through what we as a company have done for our online forms. And so, first we had classic NGP, and there were forms that got the job done, but you only had one set of header text or one thank you email, and frankly, that just sucked. And so, we also have a public website product. We call it Accelerator. It's built off of the Drupal CMS, and we had snazzy new features like being able to have separate header text or configuring what form fields show up. And this was good. This helped our clients solve a problem that they had. But it also meant that we were building things in two places. Whenever we wanted to add something new, we'd have to add it first to the database and then to the websites. And so, it just slowed down what we were able to do and bring to our clients in terms of things that were helpful. So, we then came to the new version of NGP. Lots of things were done right here. Header text, banner images, the labels on the form fields, in addition to what the form fields are, the submit button text, pretty much anything you could want to configure, you can configure now in the form builder in NGP. That's great, but we still had the tension of, okay, well, we have the database hosted forms over here and the public website forms over there. How do we build it such that we don't bog ourselves down with having to build things twice? And so we came up with an idea. And we called that idea Action Tag. And so what Action Tag is, it's actually a JavaScript library that just downloads with the page, one line of JavaScript, one line of HTML, bulletproof renders the form on that page, regardless of if a system that we run or something else out there. This meant we only had to build new features once, and faster development for us means more features for our clients and more things that help them do their jobs better. So, once we entered this era of Action Tag, we had a few pretty awesome wins that I'd like to share with you. So, we've been cookieing people when they submit through our forms, and we call these cookies action profiles. And what it does is it allows our supporters to have their information remembered. And so when you give your information to client A, it'll pre-fill on client B's form because we help both of those clients. And so that allows that submission to be that much easier. Over the years, we've built up 30 million of these action profiles out there. And it's a huge benefit for our clients because they're just tapping into this network of progressives out there across America and the world where they can just say, okay, I know that the most engaged people are going to have an easier time submitting through an NGB van or an every action form. So we saw the success of this network effect and we were like, okay, we want to do a one-click donation solution. Again, this is something that, the Obama campaign did, other folks have done, but we saw the network effect being super important for our clients because if you tokenize and securely save your credit card with us in client A, client B will be able to know that you've done that and be able to talk to you specifically like a person knowing that you're one of those super donors who's been able to say, yes, I want to make sure that I save my credit card so I just have the easiest time possible when donating to, Democrats and progressives across the country. This is a huge benefit to conversion rates. Clients really see a lot of benefit from having these as part of their form system. But again, we weren't satisfied with just the rate at which things were growing. We wanted to make it go faster. And so you'll see here on this graph, we made a change at the end of March of this year where we made it a lot easier for you to go ahead and save your credit card info with us. And we've had a 500% growth in the number of saved credit cards since we did that. That's a huge number. We haven't even had this for a year yet. And we've really turned on the juice on this, and I think it's going to be a great differentiator for the clients that we work with going into the 2016 election year. To repeat what Mike said, $200 million over the 2014 cycle. That's a big deal, and it's why I care a lot about what our conversion rates are, because without this, this is what brings the money home to pay for the staff, to pay for the ads, to pay for the lit. And these are the things that actually drive what our clients can do. And so that's why we're obsessed with the conversion rate. That is the be all and end all as far as we're concerned here. So, again, trying to think about what are some things that we could do that would really improve what the experience is when filling out one of our forms. And so we highlighted 3 major themes. We could think about the design, we could think about the speed, and we could think about ways that we could more actively assist a supporter in their experience of submitting through a form. So I'm going to talk and share a few anecdotes on each one of these themes. We did a huge revamp project for Action Tag this spring, and I'll give you the headline now. We raised conversion rates by 5.9%. That's a great number. Going back to that $200 million, that's a big, $14 million, $12 million more that our clients are going to raise. So let's start with the design. Our design team went through a lot of work while they were working on Van 5, the re-release, the design there. And so, they codified all that hard work into a style guide that they call Progress UI. And we wanted to share this with the world so people could give us their feedback on it. And so it's actually available for anyone to look at progress.ngbvan.com. I hope you have a chance to check it out. But from the very beginning, we were working with them, and they developed Progress behind the ideas of good design that will instill trust in supporters, that will be familiar, and people will be able to easily understand what's going on. So we worked with them to make sure that we brought that to what the experience was in Action Tag. Another key part of what our design process was is actually data. You've heard of Google Analytics. We use Google Analytics. Everybody uses Google Analytics. That's great. We have a certified Google Analytics expert on our product team whose sole job is to help us make sure that we're asking the right questions and collecting the right data so that we can make the smartest informed product decisions we can. And so we went to him and we said, hey, everybody says mobile is a big deal. Nobody's going to debate that. But how big a deal is it for us? How are people coming to us and how are they interacting with our products? And so, we mapped it out over time and we saw, okay, wow, yes, mobile is not yet more traffic than what a desktop experience is, but we want to be at the leading edge of that. We want to make sure that we can make that experience as easy as possible because you're already faced with a lot more challenges when you're on a mobile device. We want to make that as easy as possible. And that made for a pretty critical decision for us. We decided to make it a mobile-first design approach. And what that means is that we were optimizing for the mobile experience and not the desktop experience. We were thinking first about what's it going to be like as I'm looking at this on my phone. And so here's just one example of it. Our contribution buttons, old forms on the left, new forms on the right. Good luck trying to make sure that you got the right contribution button on the first try on the old forms. We wanted to make sure that these buttons were nice, big, touchable targets so that you didn't fat finger something and inadvertently say, I'm going to donate $50 when you actually meant to donate $500, right? We want our clients to make sure that they have an easy way for their supporters to fill out these forms. Another example of mobile first. As soon as you start entering in your credit card, we can start validating it and see what type of credit card it is and format the number inputs the way, Amex has, 3 sets of digits. Visa, Discover, MasterCard, they're going to have 4. We're going to format it that way so that way you can make sure in case you slip up a digit, we can tell you right away. Once you're done entering in the credit card, it's just going to go ahead and auto-advance you into the expiration date field in one fewer tap. And our old forms, you had 2 select lists. And so we literally sat there and we tried counting the number of taps it took you to enter in your expiration year and month. And we said, wait a second, what if this was just a single text input and you just had to punch in 4 numbers? Wouldn't that be easier? And sure enough, we saved probably 4 or 5 taps just by making that one small change. This isn't going to make or break anybody's experience, but the idea is that we can just build up enough of these things together that'll make it that much easier for folks to get through a form. Now, just because we're doing this as a mobile-first design approach doesn't mean that we don't care about how forms look otherwise. And so this is just a quick GIF showing folks how we used a responsive design to make sure that the forms look good no matter what size screen you're using it. Whether you're using a massive TV or a tiny old iPhone, anything is going to look good and it's going to have the same beautiful design. So that was some notes about the design. Now, again, I like putting the headline first. We were able to decrease the load time by 22% as part of this. So page load timing is a huge, huge thing. All the way back in 2006, Amazon was able to prove for every 100 milliseconds of time that they reduced their page load time, they got 1% more revenue. That was 2006. Nearly a decade later, like everybody's expectations of how fast a web page is supposed to load is far higher. So we really wanted to take a harsh critical eye to everything that we did and say, okay, well, what is worth it to us? What do we want to do? So here's a quick anecdote, right? The lock icon. You want to make sure that this is there on your form. It's there to show this is a secure thing. You can trust us. It helps supporters understand that you're somebody who cares about their data and their privacy and will treat it with respect. And so we took a look at our icon and we said, okay, we want to make sure that it's there. But we don't want to spend a bunch of time on the form rendering process making sure that it's there. And so we actually used what's called a Unicode icon, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But we saved 276 milliseconds. Now, anything less than 300 milliseconds is basically a blink of an eye. So this in and of itself, not going to make or break something. But again, it's indicative of the level of kind of attention that we brought to these things. And so, I can show you on our old forms trying to download this lock icon, 506 bytes for that image. We compressed that thing as much as you could. And that's about the size of like a text message, right? Like that's not a lot of data. It still took 276 milliseconds to download. And when you have a performance budget of 3,000 milliseconds to render a form, we don't need that. We want it there, but we can give up a little bit of control. The Unicode characters are going to display just a little bit differently. OS X, Windows, iPad, they all have a slightly different character for it, but that's okay. We don't need pixel perfect control. What we need is it for it to be there, and we need it to be fast, and we got that. So more speed, more conversions, more money for our clients. So, we talked a little bit about design. We talked a little bit about the speed. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the active things that we're doing to proactively make it easier to submit through one of our forms. And so first, a little detour through Optimizely. You've probably heard of it. If you hadn't, it's a great A/B testing tool, got spun out of the 2008 Barack Obama campaign, and we use it when we want to make sure that we're making the right decisions. And so one of the things that we're doing in Action Tag is that if you enter in your zip code, it's going to pre-populate the city and state for you. Now, one of the concerns that we had in doing this, city-state zip, city-state zip. People are used to having to fill out those 3 fields in that order, and in order for this to actually work, obviously the zip code has to come first. Are we going to be screwing up clients by putting the zip code first? We wanted to know. We wanted to make sure. Do no harm. And so we ran a test and increased the conversion rates by 3.2% according to Optimizely. Now, we also had a designer whose idea was, well, what if we tried putting the zip code before the address field, right? Like, just try it, see what happens. And we said, Ian, you're crazy. Everybody is going to think that's ugly. Nobody's going to understand what's going on. Just like, I don't think it's going to work out. He said, trust me, just try a test. And so, the test is still running. It's not yet statistically significant, but it's leading with a higher conversion rate by 2.4%. So because this is something that, we don't think people are going to expect, we want to make sure that we're confident before we make that decision, but it's the sort of thing that we want to make sure that we validate our assumptions with these tests. So just one test that we did as part of this process, but I thought I'd share a little bit about what that process was. For some other active assistance that we're doing, inline validation. What this means is that if we can tell that you already made a mistake when filling out a field, we can tell you right then and there that you're making a mistake. And so, this person is trying to move on from the home phone number field and saying, hey, that's not actually a valid home phone number. Do you want to try to fix that? Our research has shown that inline validation, as opposed to waiting until you hit the submit button and getting an error message that says, oh, there's something wrong on the page, and you have to go and figure out where it is, 22% increase in success rates, and it decreased the amount of time that it took you to submit through the form by 42%. Faster conversions means more money, fewer errors, more money. So, we're really trying to focus on the things that help our clients be successful. And so this, again, was just like a simple change where we wanted to make sure that we could do everything that we could. Now, a great example of how we really took that idea of inline validation and really brought it out to play. Again, our research has showed that about 15% of email addresses have a typo in them. Can you imagine not being able to email 15% of the people in your database? Like, that's just going to crater your ability to reach out to your supporters. And so, we wanted to go ahead and say, hey, okay, well, if you've got a typo in there, maybe you type gfail.com or gnail.com, or maybe you use a comma instead of a period, right? Like, this will catch about 50% of those typos. And again, it's just a, hey, did you mean this? And one click, it's fixed, and the supporter can move on with their lives. One last example that I'd like to share in terms of ways that we're helping out. If you have to report employer and occupation for a compliance report, we know what the most common ones are. We help do all those compliance reports. And so we were able to take the top 25 occupations and auto-suggest them as you start typing them. And furthermore, if you choose one that the employer and occupation are going to be a pair, so you start typing self-employed, we can go ahead and pre-fill the employer as self-employed, because that's how it gets reported. One fewer field for you have to fill out. One more person that just says, this is too much work, I don't need to do that. We help fix that, people move on. So, I want to take a second to talk about our documentation. We developed Action Tag. We saw value that it would provide to us and that would allow us to help provide value to our clients. But we also just wanted to say, this wasn't meant just for us. This isn't just something that we can use. This is something that anybody could use. So a while back we created, and I'm biased here because I wrote it, but some pretty decent documentation. And we've actually had some pretty great response from people, and a lot of people have used this, and they've taken these forms and they've embedded them in their own websites, and they've been able to integrate it with, again, a familiar design, but then also integrate it with the larger design of whatever their client's website is. And they're able to, gain some of the power of what we've been able to add to this while also still maintaining their very specific branding. So, we've done some really cool things with our clients who have come to us with questions and said, yeah, actually you can do that. We have a system of callbacks, and so, it's a developer term. It's something that we use basically to say, hey, alter the way that the Action Tag works. And so, maybe you want to rearrange the order of the fields on the page, or maybe you want to go ahead and pass the contribution amount back to your ad platform so you can do your ROI tracking. Maybe you want to go ahead and have a conditional thanks page based on whether or not somebody's a recurring donor, or maybe they maxed out to you, so you want to send them to the super secret thank you page for the high rollers, right? And I was talking about Optimizely earlier. Really simple instructions of just how you set it up so that you can run your own A/B tests. We really encourage people to run their own tests and find what works for their supporters, because obviously we work with thousands of clients. We have to do things that work well for everybody, but there might be things that are specific to your audience, and so we want to make sure that folks know how to get the most out of Action Tag. And also just yesterday, we were able to release an integration with the Google Analytics e-commerce reporting. And so, Google Analytics obviously has lots of data in terms of, what type of browser are you using, what type of device, but also demographic data, right? Like, where in the country are you, or maybe even age demographics. And so, here we've got a screenshot of, the 18 to 24 demographic according to Google Analytics and their donation history, right? So you can see their average contribution amount. You can see how much they've donated. And, this is over a month or two, I don't know. But you can see here that there are 2 weekends in a row that there were no donations in this age demographic. Is that because you didn't send an email? Is that because you sent an email and they just weren't checking their email on weekends? Obviously, the data will mean different things in different contexts, but now you have that ability to know, and allows you to tailor how you reach out to different folks. So, a few other things that I just want to promote while we're talking about documentation. OSDI, the Open Supporter Data Initiative, we're compliant with that, and so this allows you to make sure that we help you with your CRM. You can bring that data. You can integrate it with lots of other great tools out there. And I really want to say thanks to our director of the innovation platform, Shai Sachs. He really took this ball and ran with it. And we're very happy to be a supporter of the OSDI movement. And for my last slide, I just want to leave you with a promise of something fun coming in the future. We've talked a lot about developers. What is it that developers can do with this? But again, we want to make sure that this is something that's available to everyone. And so we're going to be making it possible for the embed code to show at the end of every form creation workflow, right? So you can just copy this embed code, and if you can embed a YouTube video, you can embed an Action Tag form. And that's really, I think, delivering on the full promise from, years ago when we first started on Action Tag, bringing something that's available to all of our clients. So thanks for being a great audience. Reach out and share what your ideas are for Action Tag, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you guys for following along with our very first shot at sort of opening up some of these lunchtime talks that we've already been doing. If anybody who's watching at home, if you guys, we're going to keep doing these. We're going to post the schedule on our blog, blog.ngpvan.com. If you're looking to get updates on when our next ones are going to be, you can subscribe to our blog as well. There's a big subscription button there. So thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your day.